Xfce is a free software desktop environment for Unix and Unix-like platforms, such as Linux, Solaris, and BSD. It aims to be fast and lightweight, while still being visually appealing and easy to use. It consists of separately packaged components that together provide the full functionality of the desktop environment, but can be selected in subsets to suit user needs and preference. Features, like GNOME 2, Xfce is based on the GTK Plus 2 toolkit. It uses the XFWM window manager, described below. Its configuration is entirely mouse-driven, with the configuration files hidden from the casual user. Xfce does not feature any desktop animations. It is possible to run Xfce in 40 MB of memory using Alpine Linux. History: Olivier Fordan started the project in 1996. The name Xfce originally stood for XFORMS Common Environment, but since that time Xfce has been rewritten twice and no longer uses the XFORMS toolkit. The name survived, but it is no longer capitalized as Xfce, but rather as Xfce. The developer's current stance is that the initialism no longer stands for anything specific. It has been nicknamed cholesterol-free desktop environment, even in some of its man pages. Early versions. Xfce began as a simple project created with XFORMS, meant to be a free Linux clone of CDE. Fordan released the program, a simple panel, to iBiblio. Fordan continued developing the project, and in 1998, Xfce 2 was released with the first version of Xfce's window manager, XFWM. He requested to have the project included in Red Hat Linux, but was refused because the project was based on XFORMS. Red Hat only accepted software that was open source and released under either a GPL-compatible or BSD-compatible license, but, at the time, XFORMS was closed source and free only for personal use. For the same reason, Xfce was not in Debian before version 3. Xfce 2 was only distributed in Debian's contrib component. In March 1999 Fordan began a complete rewrite of the project based on GTK+, a non-proprietary toolkit whose popularity was increasing. The result was Xfce 3.0, which was licensed under the GNU GPL. Along with being based completely on free software, the project gained GTK+'s drag-and-drop support, native language support, and improved configurability. Xfce was uploaded to SourceForge.net in February 2001, starting with version 3.8.1. Modern Xfce. In version 4.0.0, released September 25, 2003, Xfce was upgraded to use the GTK Plus 2 libraries. Changes in 4.2.0 included a Compositing Manager for XFWM which added built-in support for transparency and drop shadows, as well as a new default SVG icon set. In January 2007, Xfce 4.4.0 was released. This included the Thuna File Manager, a replacement for XFFM. Support for desktop icons was added. Also, various improvements were made to the panel to prevent buggy plugins from crashing the whole panel. In February 2009 Xfce 4.6.0 was released. This version had a new configuration backend, a new settings manager and a new sound mixer, as well as several significant improvements to the session manager and the rest of Xfce's core components. In January 2011, Xfce 4.8.0 was released. This version included changes such as the replacement of thunavs and HAL with GIO, RDAV, Console Kit and Policy Kit, and new utilities for browsing remote network shares using several protocols including SFTP, SMB, and FTP. Window clutter was reduced by merging all file progress dialog boxes into a single dialog. The panel application was also rewritten for better positioning, transparency, item and launcher management. 4.8 also introduced a new menu plugin to view directories. The 4.8 plugin framework remains compatible with 4.6 plugins. The display configuration dialog in 4.8 supports Randa 1.2, detecting screens automatically and allowing users to pick their preferred display resolution, refresh rate and display rotation. Screens can be configured to either work in clone mode or being placed next to each other. Keyboard selection has become easier and more user-friendly. Also, the manual settings editor has been updated to be more functional. The 4.8 development cycle was the first to use the new release strategy formed after the Xfce release and development model developed at the Ubuntu Desktop Summit in May 2009. A new web application was employed to make release management easier, and a dedicated Transifex server was set up for Xfce translators. The project server and mirroring infrastructure was also upgraded, partly to cope with anticipated demand following the release announcement for 4.8. Xfce 4.10, released April 28, 2012, introduced a vertical display mode for the panel and moved much of the documentation to an online wiki. The main focus of this release was on improving the user experience. Software components: Xfce has forked only a couple of the GNOME core applications and written most from scratch. Applications developed by the Xfce team are based on GTK+ and Clutter and self-developed Xfce libraries. Xfce provides a development framework which contains the following components: XO, an application library for the Xfce desktop environment; Garçon, a free desktop.org compliant menu library, like Xfce, a widgets library for the Xfce desktop environment, like Xfce, an extension library for Xfce. Other than Xfce itself, there are third-party programs which use the Xfce libraries, such as the Xfce terminal. One of the services provided to applications by the framework is a red banner across the top of the window when the application is running with root privileges warning the user that they could damage system files. XFWM, starting with version 4.2, XFWM integrates its own Compositing Manager. Thuner. Thuner is the default file manager for Xfce, replacing XFFM. It resembles GNOME's Nautilus and is designed for speed and a low memory footprint as well as being highly customizable through plugins. Xfce also has a lightweight archive manager called Xarchiver, but this is not part of the core Xfce 4.4.0. More recently, Xfce has been started as an archive manager designed to integrate better into the Xfce desktop, though no further updates have been released since February 24, 2008. The development Git branch for both Xfce and Xarchiver are more up-to-date and feature-rich than the last stable release. Orage, starting with version 4.4, Xcalendar was renamed to Orage and several features were added. Orage has alarms and uses the iCalendar format, making it compatible with many other calendar applications. It also includes a panel clock plugin and an international clock application capable of simultaneously showing clocks from several different time zones. LeafPad. LeafPad is the default text editor for Xfce in many Linux distributions, including Xubuntu. At one point Xubuntu and some other Xfce-based distributions switched to a fork of LeafPad called Mousepad, developed by Eric Harrison and Nick Schimmer to provide printing support and Xfce integration, but LeafPad gained printing support in version 0.8.11. Parole is a media player that is based on the Xstreamer framework. It is developed by Ali Abdullah and is part of the Xfce goodies. It originally was only playlist-based, but now includes an option to replace the entire playlist when opening a file for playing. Xfmedia. Xfmedia is a Xine-based media player for the Xfce desktop environment. It is unmaintained since November 2006 at version 0.9.2. XFBURNACD DVD burning program. Products and distributions using Xfce. Xfce is included as one of the graphical user interfaces on the Pandora handheld gaming system. It is the default desktop in the following Linux distributions: Ubuntu 1/4 Linux Lite, Macula Linux, Manjaro Linux, Mythbuntu, PCOS, SalixOS, SalinOS, ZolidX, Tuxtrans, Yorba Student, Xubuntu, It is also included as a standard desktop option in many other distributions, including Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, Linux Mint and Mageia. That means a stable version of Xfce is kept in these distributions' repositories and user can easily install it from the package manager. See also LXDE, GNOME, KDE Plasma Workspaces, Comparison of X Window System Desktop Environments, Comparison of X Window Managers, List of GTK Plus applications, References. External links, Official website.